The dark truth about success. 99% of men will never accept. They lied to you, and you believed them. They told you success comes from hard work, from passion, from following your dreams and staying positive. That's the fairy tale they sell to keep you comfortable, keep you compliant, keep you exactly where you are. Here's the dark truth: 99% of men will never accept. Success isn't a reward for being good. It's a consequence of being strategic. The world doesn't care about your effort. It cares about your results. You can work 80 hours a week at the wrong thing and die broke. You can be the most passionate, positive person in the room and still get destroyed by someone who understands the game better than you. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because effectiveness trumps morality in the marketplace of power. While they're posting motivational quotes, you need to be studying leverage. While they're talking about their journey, you need to be mapping the territory. While they're waiting for permission, you need to be taking position. The men who win aren't always the hardest workers. They're the smartest operators. Comment: I choose strategy over sentiment if this makes you uncomfortable, because that discomfort is the beginning of your evolution. Part 1. The uncomfortable awakening. They lied to you, and you believed them. They told you success comes from hard work, from passion, from following your dreams and staying positive. That's the fairy tale they sell to keep you comfortable, keep you compliant, keep you exactly where you are. Here's the dark truth: 99% of men will never accept. Success isn't a reward for being good. It's a consequence of being strategic. The world doesn't care about your effort. It cares about your results. You can work 80 hours a week at the wrong thing and die broke. You can be the most passionate, positive person in the room and still get destroyed by someone who understands the game better than you. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because effectiveness trumps morality in the marketplace of power. While they're posting motivational quotes, you need to be studying leverage. While they're talking about their journey, you need to be mapping the territory. While they're waiting for permission, you need to be taking position. The men who win aren't always the hardest workers. They're the smartest operators. They see the chessboard while others see checkers. They understand that every interaction is a negotiation. Every relationship is an asset or a liability. Every decision is a calculated risk. This isn't cynicism. This is clarity. The successful manipulate perception. They control narratives. They weaponize timing. And they do it all while making it look effortless. You think they got there by playing fair, by following the rules everyone else follows? Number. They rewrote the rules while you were still trying to memorize them. Comment: I see the real game if you're ready to stop playing by their script. Part 2. The morality trap. Let me tell you something that's going to shatter your conditioning. You've been taught that good guys finish first, that karma is real, that if you just stay humble, work hard, and treat people right, success will find you. Beautiful story. Absolute lie. Look around you. The most successful men aren't the most moral. They're the most adaptable. They learned early what you're still refusing to accept. The universe doesn't reward virtue. It rewards value. And value is determined by the market, not by your mother's opinion of what makes a good person. This is the morality trap, and 99% of men are stuck in it. They handicap themselves with arbitrary rules that successful men abandoned years ago. I could never do that. It wouldn't feel right. And that's exactly why you're still where you are. While you're worried about being liked, they're focused on being effective. While you're afraid of what people will think, they're thinking 3 moves ahead. While you're hoping someone will appreciate your integrity, they're building empires on calculated decisions that have nothing to do with being nice. Machiavelli said it clearly. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you. Translation: perception is reality. Image is everything. And the truth is, whatever story wins. Success requires you to get comfortable with moral ambiguity. It requires you to understand that sometimes the right business decision looks wrong to people who will never build anything. You're not here to be understood by the masses. You're here to be effective. And effectiveness often means making choices that comfortable men will judge you for. Let them judge. They'll judge you from the bottom while you operate from the top. The powerful don't explain themselves. They don't justify. They don't apologize for winning. They understand that in the game of success, there are no points for playing nice. Only results matter. Your guilt is a leash they put on you to keep you small. Cut it. Comment, effectiveness over approval, if you're ready to remove the chains. Part 3. The illusion of fairness. Here's what they don't want you to know. The game was never fair. It was never meant to be fair. And the men who are winning, they stopped believing in fairness before you even learned the rules. You're sitting there waiting for your turn, waiting for someone to notice your effort, waiting for the world to reward your consistency. Meanwhile, they're cutting the line, making backroom deals, leveraging relationships you don't even know exist, and you call it cheating. They call it strategy. This is the illusion of fairness, and it's the most expensive belief you'll ever hold. Because while you're playing by the rules, they're playing with the rules. They understand something fundamental. Systems are designed by the powerful to benefit the powerful. Every rule you follow religiously, someone above you is finding the loophole. Every fair process you believe in, someone with resources is bypassing it entirely. Every meritocracy you trust, it's actually a networkocracy disguised as merit. The dark psychology here is simple. They keep you believing in fairness because it keeps you predictable, controllable, manageable. You won't take the shortcut because it's not right. You won't leverage the connection because that's not how it should work. You won't bend the rule because everyone should play by the same standards. And that's exactly the mindset that keeps you on the outside. Machiavelli observed, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." The successful man appears to follow the rules. He appears fair. He appears to be just like you. But behind closed doors, he's playing an entirely different game. He's using asymmetric advantages, hidden leverage, strategic positioning that you're not even aware exists. And here's the part that will make you angry. He's not wrong for doing it. You're naive for not doing it. The world rewards those who understand how power actually moves, not how it's supposed to move. Stop waiting for a fair shot. Fair shots don't exist. There are only the shots you create through intelligence, positioning, and ruthless execution. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. For them, not for you. Unless you wake up and learn to work it for yourself. Success isn't about being the best. It's about being the best positioned. It's not about who deserves it most. It's about who takes it most effectively. Comment, "I create my own advantages," if you're done waiting for permission. Part 4. The sacrifice they hide. Let me tell you what they're not saying in those success interviews. What they conveniently leave out of their Instagram captions and LinkedIn posts. The real price of power. And why 99% of men will never pay it. You think success costs hard work, time, discipline. That's the entry fee. That's what everyone pays. The real cost? The parts of yourself you have to kill. The version of you that needs to be liked by everyone. Dead. The version that values comfort over conquest. Dead. The version that cares what your old friends think when you outgrow them. Dead. This is the sacrifice they hide because it sounds too dark, too cold, too honest. But every man at the top had to murder his former self to get there. They had to ghost people who loved them but held them back. They had to miss birthdays, weddings, moments that normal people say you can't miss. They had to make decisions that made them look selfish, ruthless, obsessed. And here's the Machiavellian truth. They did it without apology because they understood something you're still wrestling with. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot build an empire and maintain every relationship. You cannot dominate your field and still be available to everyone who knew you before. You cannot become untouchable and remain the same person who was easy to reach. Machiavelli wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." But before you can command others, you must command yourself. And that means executing the weak parts without mercy. Your need for external validation, execute it. Your fear of being misunderstood, execute it. Your attachment to who you used to be, execute it. The men who reach the top aren't better than you. They're just willing to become someone you're afraid to become. They're willing to be called cold when they prioritize. They're willing to be called obsessed when they focus. They're willing to be called arrogant when they know their worth. They sacrifice the approval of the many for the respect of the few who matter. They sacrifice shallow friendships for deep power. They sacrifice being comfortable for being unstoppable. And the darkest part, once you make these sacrifices, you can't go back. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what you've learned. You can't return to the person who accepted mediocrity because everyone else did. This is why most men never accept the truth, not because they can't understand it, but because understanding it requires becoming someone their current circle won't recognize. It requires disappointing people who expect you to stay small. It requires choosing your future over their comfort. The question isn't whether you're capable of success. The question is whether you're capable of the sacrifice success demands. Whether you can kill who you are for who you need to become. Comment, "I sacrifice comfort for conquest," if you're ready to pay the real price. Part 5. The power of invisible moves. Watch how amateurs operate. They announce every goal, broadcast every plan, share every idea before it's executed. They think transparency equals authenticity. What it actually equals, vulnerability. Here's what separates the powerful from the pretenders. The most dangerous moves are the ones nobody sees coming. While weak men are posting their New Year's resolutions, you're already 6 months into execution. While they're telling everyone about their business idea, you're quietly building it in the shadows. While they're seeking advice from people who've never done it, you're studying those who have and saying nothing. This is the art of invisible power, and it's rooted in a dark psychological principle. Information asymmetry is the greatest weapon in human interaction. The less people know about your true capabilities, the more you can surprise them. The less they know about your resources, the more you can maneuver. The less they know about your intentions, the more power you hold. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Not because deception is evil, but because the element of surprise multiplies force by 10. Think about it. When they don't know you're a threat, they don't defend against you. When they don't know you're competing, they don't guard their position. When they don't know what you're capable of, they underestimate you until it's too late. This is why Sigma males operate in silence. They're not shy, they're not insecure, they're not afraid to speak, they're strategically invisible. They let others waste energy on performance while they invest energy in positioning. They let the loud ones attract attention while they attract opportunity. They let the talkers build reputation while they build reality. And when they finally reveal what they've been working on, it's not a plan anymore, it's an empire. Here's the manipulation most people never recognize. Visible effort looks impressive, but invisible preparation is unstoppable. The man who talks about his workout routine gets respect. The man who shows up transformed gets fear. The man who discusses his business plans gets encouragement. The man who launches a finished product gets market share. See the difference? One is performing for an audience. The other is building for results. One needs validation during the process. The other needs victory at the end. Your silence isn't just strategic, it's protective. Every time you share your move before making it, you're giving others the opportunity to interfere, discourage, copy, or sabotage. Every time you announce your intention, you're inviting opinions from people who lack your vision. Every time you seek approval for your plan, you're diluting your conviction with their doubt. The powerful don't crowdsource their decisions. They make them in isolation and reveal them through action. They understand that explanation is the refuge of the uncertain. If you're truly confident in your path, you don't need to justify it to anyone. You just walk it. And when people finally notice where you've arrived, their shock is your proof. Their "I didn't know you were doing that" is your confirmation that you moved correctly. Stop performing your journey. Start dominating in silence. Stop seeking witnesses to your work. Start becoming the proof. The world doesn't need another man talking about what he's going to do. It needs men who disappear into their purpose and re-emerge victorious. Be the plot twist nobody saw coming. Be the threat they didn't prepare for. Be the force that was always there, but only revealed itself at the perfect moment. Comment: I move in calculated silence if you understand the power of invisible warfare. Part 6. The manipulation of perception. Let me expose something most men will never grasp. Reality doesn't matter as much as you think it does. What matters is what people believe is real. And the men who control that belief, they control everything. This is the manipulation of perception, and it's the most powerful tool in the Machiavellian arsenal. While you're focused on actually being good at something, they're focused on being perceived as the best. While you're building real value, they're building strategic image. While you're letting your work speak for itself, they're controlling the narrative around their work. And guess who wins in the court of public opinion? Not the person who's actually best, the person who's perceived as best. Listen carefully to this dark truth. People don't buy quality. They buy the story around quality. They don't invest in competence. They invest in confidence packaged correctly. They don't follow the most capable leader. They follow the leader who projects the most certainty. This is why average men with exceptional branding destroy exceptional men with average branding every single time. Machiavelli said it bluntly. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Harsh? Yes. True? Absolutely. People want to believe compelling stories more than they want to investigate boring truth. They want to follow charismatic presentation more than they want to verify actual credentials. They want to be associated with perceived winners more than they want to identify real value. And the man who understands this, he weaponizes it. He crafts his image with the same precision an architect designs a building. He controls his narrative with the same discipline a general commands an army. He manages perception with the same ruthlessness a CEO manages quarterly earnings, not because he's fake, but because he understands that being effective requires controlling how effectiveness is interpreted. Think about the most successful people you know. How much of their success comes from actual superiority versus strategic positioning? How much comes from being the best versus appearing unquestionably confident? How much comes from skill versus the ability to make skill look effortless? The uncomfortable answer: more than you want to admit. Here's the dark psychology you need to internalize. Confidence is contagious and doubt is destructive. When you project absolute certainty, people believe you without evidence. When you show any hesitation, people question you despite evidence. This is why the powerful never explain, never defend, never justify. Explanation looks like weakness. Defense looks like guilt. Justification looks like insecurity. Instead, they assert, they declare, they move forward as if their authority is self-evident, and the world treats them accordingly. You think this is dishonest? You think this is wrong? Then you fundamentally misunderstand how human psychology operates. People are not rational calculators of truth. They're emotional responders to perceived status. They don't analyze your credentials as much as they feel your energy. They don't verify your claims as much as they vibe with your conviction. They don't investigate your background as much as they react to your presence. The man who masters this doesn't need to be the smartest in the room. He just needs to be perceived as the most certain. He doesn't need to have all the answers. He just needs to deliver the answers he has with unwavering conviction. He doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to control the narrative around his imperfections. This is how average intelligence with superior perception management beats superior intelligence with poor perception management. Every single time. So stop waiting for your work to be discovered. Start framing your work so it can't be ignored. Stop hoping your value will be recognized. Start positioning your value so it's undeniable. Stop believing that good enough will speak for itself. Start understanding that nothing speaks for itself in a world of noise. You must be the narrator of your own story. You must be the architect of your own image. You must be the director of how the world perceives your power. Because if you don't control the narrative, someone else will. And their version won't serve your interests. It will serve theirs. Comment, "I control my narrative," if you're ready to master the game of perception. Part 7. The Death of Loyalty. Here's a truth that will make you question everything you believe about relationships. Loyalty is a beautiful concept and a dangerous delusion. The men at the top understand something that keeps bottom-tier men trapped forever. Loyalty is a transaction, not a virtue. You think people are loyal to you because of who you are? They're loyal to what you provide, your value, your resources, your utility, your status. The moment that equation changes, so does their loyalty. This isn't cynicism. This is pattern recognition across thousands of years of human behavior. Machiavelli observed it clearly. Friendships that are obtained by payments and not by greatness or nobility of mind may indeed be earned, but they are not secured and in time of need cannot be relied upon. Translation: people align with power, not with people. When you're rising, watch how many friends appear. When you're falling, watch how fast they vanish. When you're useful, notice how loyal everyone seems. When you're struggling, notice the silence. This is the death of loyalty, as you understand it. And accepting this death is what separates the powerful from the perpetually disappointed. You've been loyal to people who were only loyal to your utility. You've invested in relationships that were actually transactions disguised as friendships. You've given trust to people who were simply waiting for a better option. And when they left, you called them disloyal. They weren't disloyal, they were rational. Because here's what you haven't accepted yet. In the economy of human relationships, everyone is optimizing for their own advantage. The friend who borrowed money when you had it, where is he now that you need help? The colleague who praised you when you were rising, where is she now that you've plateaued? The partner who loved you when you were providing, where are they now that you're rebuilding? Gone, quiet, distant, busy. Not because they're bad people, but because the value exchange shifted. And humans, despite what Disney taught you, are fundamentally self-interested creatures. Even the ones who love you are calculating whether that love serves them. Even the ones who support you are measuring what that support costs versus what it returns. This isn't darkness, this is clarity. And clarity is what you need to operate at the highest levels. The powerful don't get hurt by disloyalty because they never expected loyalty in the first place. They expected mutual benefit. They expected aligned incentives. They expected rational self-interest. And they structured their relationships accordingly. They don't give trust freely. They allocate it strategically. They don't invest emotionally in people. They invest transactionally based on demonstrated value. They don't expect anyone to have their back unless having their back serves that person's interests. Sound cold? Maybe. But it's the difference between being blindsided and being prepared. Between being betrayed and being strategic. Between being hurt and being calculating. Here's the manipulation most people never see. Successful men appear loyal while remaining strategically detached. They attend the funeral. But they don't grieve in ways that compromise their position. They maintain the friendship, but they don't rely on it for anything critical. They show up for people, but they build systems that don't depend on people showing up for them. This is operational detachment, and it's the only way to survive in a world where loyalty is conditional. You want to know why you keep getting hurt? Because you're operating with permanent loyalty in a world of temporary alignment. You're giving unconditional trust in an environment of conditional relationships. You're expecting people to prioritize you the way you prioritize them, and that asymmetry is killing you. Stop it. Start treating relationships like the intelligent man you are. Invest proportionally to what's returned. Trust based on demonstrated consistency, not hopeful promises. Expect rational self-interest, and you'll never be disappointed by it. Build your empire on systems, not on people's loyalty, because systems don't betray you, processes don't abandon you, skills don't leave you when things get hard, but people optimize for themselves. And the moment you accept that, you become dangerous, because you stop operating from hurt and start operating from strategy. You stop being the loyal fool and start being the strategic operator. Comment: I expect self-interest if you're ready to see relationships clearly. Part 8. The illusion of equality. They sold you a comforting lie that all men are created equal, that everyone deserves the same respect, the same opportunities, the same treatment. It's a beautiful philosophy for maintaining social order and a catastrophic belief for anyone trying to rise above it. Here's the truth they don't want you to accept. Hierarchy is natural, inevitable, and necessary. Some men are simply more capable than others. Some are more intelligent, more disciplined, more strategic, more willing to do what others won't. And pretending otherwise is what keeps you stuck in the middle. While you're treating everyone as equals, the top tier is identifying who matters and who doesn't. While you're being fair to all, they're investing heavily in the few who provide maximum return. While you're distributing your time and energy equally, they're concentrating their resources on high-value relationships. This is the illusion of equality, and it's costing you everything. Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Why? Because equality breeds contempt. Hierarchy breeds respect. When you treat everyone the same, you become common to everyone. When you establish clear value distinctions, you become exceptional to those who matter. The men at the top don't believe in equality because they've seen the evidence against it their entire lives. They've watched the hardest worker get passed over for the most strategic networker. They've seen the most talented person lose to the most politically savvy. They've witnessed the kindest person get exploited while the ruthless person gets rewarded. And they adapted. They stopped operating as if fairness was real and started operating based on what actually works. Here's the dark psychology you need to internalize. Not everyone deserves your best. Not everyone has earned access to your time. Not everyone should receive your energy, your wisdom, your resources, or your loyalty. Some people are drains, some are neutral, some are multipliers. And treating all three categories the same is financial, emotional, and strategic suicide. The powerful practice radical discrimination, not based on superficial characteristics, but based on cold calculation of value exchange. They ask, what does this person add to my mission? They evaluate, is this relationship moving me forward or holding me back? They measure, does this person's presence create opportunities or obligations? And based on those answers, they allocate accordingly. Cold, absolutely.